Welcome to Let's Talk Jets Radio.
What's up, everybody? Let's talk Jets. Training camp is almost here, and GreenBean is here. This is a highlight, man. What's up?
Yeah. Oh, I'm psyched, Tyson. This is great. I can't wait. I'm telling you, I mean this sincerely. I've been waiting all day. I've been trying to fill my day waiting for, because it's 8:30 when we're recording this. So this is a long day to wait to be on here. So I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to getting into this with you, bro.
Well, first of all, thank you for your time, man. It is the summertime. I know you want to do a lot of more exciting things to talk to me, so I definitely appreciate it.
What could be more exciting than talking to you about Jets? Really? Come on.
Wait, maybe arguing with Connor Hughes? Is that more exciting?
Yeah, well, hey, things happen. I didn't know I was arguing with him. I learned I was arguing with him, Tyson. I had no idea. I have, 3,500 Twitter followers, and I put something out for them. And the next thing you know, everybody's arguing. I didn't even know what I did. I was like, okay. And
the
now
Bean guy, they called you, I think, right?
The Bean guy with the Slapdick podcast. That's me.
Hey, man, it's wild times with social media, wild times with the media. But the really cool thing is, channels like yourself, dude, you provide so much genuine quality content that fans all across the world can enjoy it. And it's specific to the Jets, but it's very detailed. It's excellent, man.
Well, thank you, man. And look, honest to God, this is how I feel. Like, I've been listening to you for quite literally years. I think I've told you this. I used to put you on when I would go to the gym. There was almost nothing out there. Like I found you. I mean, I listened to Boy Green for a few years. He was it. And then it was you guys and a couple, like Matt O'Leary was still talking about the Mets and stuff. He wasn't all Jets yet, but I've been listening to you for forever. And then out of nowhere, like even including myself, we just kind of all started to bubble up out of the muck. And it's been cool, because the truth is the reason I'm here, and probably you feel the same, is I just didn't think that the media were giving us what I was interested in. Like, it was always the same garbage. And I'm like, why aren't we talking about the schemes? Why aren't we talking about like something with substance? Why aren't we talking about football? Can we talk about the game of football? So that's why I said, what, I'm gonna do it myself. And Jet Nation, as you know, who very well, they said, make a video for me. And I said, okay. And here we are.
That was one of my biggest pet peeves throughout the entire process, was when the media was saying, well, Jet fans think this. Don't tell me what I think, because you're not a Jet fan. Like, you have not sat in our shoes and dealt with the shit we've dealt with year after year, or the heartbreak or the frustration or all this stuff. And don't tell me you know our feelings. And don't speak for us. It drove me crazy. And then, like you said, sometimes they would run away with these little narratives and headlines. Like, I don't care about that. Tell me why we haven't gotten a pass rush with more than 10 sacks in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Where's that? Right. Where is that? Why is it that the Jets cannot hire a general manager that understands that pass rush is paramount to a defense's success? Why? Why aren't we talking about that?
Yeah. So it's been wild. And it's really cool, to talk to you and to Richie and Ryan and Ian, because dudes, there's so much great content out there now, and it's all fan oriented, but a lot of times it's better than what some of these local beat writers offer. And I think it's great. So the really cool thing is now it's like training camp is finally here, man. We're done with all these could has and should haves and what ifs. The rookies reported, the veterans are next week. You have some PUP news today, but what do you think is going to be the biggest story as the Jets report, like the veterans report to camp next week?
I mean, I'll play the game at first, right? But I'll tell you, the biggest story is undoubtedly going to be how fat or not fat Mekhi Becton is. That's the first thing. I bet there are dozens of stories already written about that. But so we'll see where that goes. But I think the most important story from my perspective is Zach Wilson and how he's progressing in this offense. I mean, we did an interesting thing with him last year, which, truth be told, Tyson, I was kind of hypercritical of LaFleur before he was Mike LaBooth when he was on the field. I felt very strongly that they were overloading Zach Wilson. And I said, why can't we just give him a package that he's comfortable with, that high percentage plays? Why can't we do that? and just kind of get him into a rhythm and then start to fold more stuff in. Now, I had no proof that was the way it was. It just looked like that to me.
Yep.
And a lot of other people that I talked with. It turned out that this year that they came out and said that. They threw the entire book at Zach Wilson. They force-fed him. They said, we're just doing a crash course. You're going to sink or swim. Yep. And that's the way we're choosing to have you learn. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's good. Hopefully he got all the crap out, right? He just shake it all out of your shoes, man. Yep. Wipe the dog crap out of your sneakers and all that stuff. But I'm really going to be interested, not if he misses a pass in practice, all that stuff. I'm really going to be interested into how well he can go through and progress his, through his reads. That's my number one thing, because look, dude, it's funny. I heard you say this on your show with Ian from Jet Central today. Joe Douglas did a damn good job from my perspective. And you said as much. We gave Zach Wilson at least a semblance, some semblance of a legitimate offense. We have guys like Elijah Moore. We have, obviously, we drafted Garrett Wilson. We revamped the entire tight end room, which is, I've been screaming about this for 20 years. Why can't we get a freaking tight end already? Yep. The offensive line still has some questions, but it's completely different than what it was, just a couple of years ago. So Zach Wilson has, and then you got Breece Hall and Michael Carter and everybody else. He has enough that if he can go through his progressions and he can see my first guy's covered, get to your second read. If you can get through your first two reads and then even down to your check down, somebody's going to be open.
Yep.
Somebody's going to be available for you. Now, if he can do that, if the offensive line, if the addition of Lake and Tomlinson instead of Greg Van Roten, alongside of AVT and obviously the other guys, if they can give Zach Wilson 3 to 5 seconds back there, not 1.7 seconds, and he can do that, Tyson, we have ourselves a season. It's like, it's really that simple, man. Now the guy's got to catch it. We led the league in drops and all this other crap. But it's like, if Zach Wilson can actually, if he's absorbed this offense enough that he now knows, and it looked like it at the end of the year, no more interceptions. He was calmer. He was more collected. The happy feet-esque kind of in the pocket, a feel to him was gone. So if he can do that, he can go through his first read. He's open, hit him. Decisive. If he's not open, get to your second read. He's not checked down. If he can do that, we have an offense, and therefore we have a season. So that's going to be, for me, number one. It supersedes everything else because I think we have a nice collection of players right now.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, Becton is good for like the media headlines, and I understand the reason behind all that. To me, it's all about Zach Wilson. The team will go as Zach Wilson goes, and you expressed it perfectly, dude. This offense has been built around him now. We always say build around the quarterback. Jets actually did that.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's funny because we always got to like generate hype for our players sometimes. We always got to overhype guys that usually aren't that good or they're very average guys. The Jets have legitimate game-breaking talent now. They have speed. They have athleticism. They have a tight end position, like you said. Not only one tight end, they have basically 3 tight ends now. You have versatility, you have flexibility. If you want to get physical, you can do ground and pound. You can run the football. You can do a lot of good things that can help this quarterback be very, very comfortable. And you can say, you know what? Tell us what plays you like. We're going to run these plays. And I like Mike LaFleur a lot because at the end of the season last year, he was doing a lot with smoke and mirrors, man. Like everybody was hurt. Corey Davis was hurt. Elijah Moore's hurt.
Right.
So now you have all these guys. It's like Zach. And like the one thing, like the team has a lot of expectation now. It's a lot of expectation for Zach. I'm just hoping that Saleh keeps everybody under wraps. And listen, man, just play football, stay within a system. We don't need anybody to be a hero. You don't need Garrett Wilson to have 1,000 yards receiving. You don't need, 1,500-yard running back. Everybody just do your part. And this offense is going to roll, dude. And that's, and the one thing I'm curious to see with you is you keep talking about like Zach's progression. I think also as a leader, I think it needs to be important too. Like be the commander of this offense. Like, you command the huddle, but you tell guys, listen, you ran the wrong route. You should be here. You should be here. Like kind of be more hands-on, be like, know the offense inside out and backwards where everybody knows, okay, he's holding us accountable now. Like we know when we make a mistake, he knows it. That's what I want to see more of with him, man.
That's a great point. I mean, look, what's interesting about that point though, Tyson, is that there was an interview. I think it was like toward the early the early off season, like closer to the end of the season, but they were asking Zach Wilson about his leadership and they were actually using the term command of the huddle. And he said, well, it's hard to walk into the NFL. First time ever in, at first I'm a rookie. I don't really know the offense and be commanding, to have that confidence.
Yep.
To hear him, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, his exact words are probably different than that. But he said, but the fact that he talked about that shows me that there is at least that conversation going on. They're aware of it. Like for so many years, Tyson, and this is sad to say, especially using hindsight now, but we talked about it as fans while it was happening. There was so many times that I really wondered if the Jets knew what the fuck they were looking at.
Yep.
Like, honestly, like Casey Rogers or like whoever.
Yep.
I'm like, do they even know? Like,
Yep.
that this guy is never going to make it, that they're making these mistakes. And look, these guys have gone on. Some of them, very few of the guys who had worked for the Jets are very successful elsewhere. Nope. Look at Adam Gase, hasn't even been hired. He's not even a dishwasher anywhere. Yep. So, there's a lot to be said for that. Now, but when you look at this organization, the one thing I'm getting, and this goes along to what you were saying, is that they're aware of what needs to take place. They're aware that Zach Wilson needs to do exactly what you're saying. If somebody does run the wrong route, or an offensive lineman is literally on roller skates, like he says hike, and the offensive lineman's ass is pressed on his chest, which is what Van Roten, that was happening often, man. Van Roten was getting blown backward. If he sees that and has the ability now to say, hey, asshole, what are you doing? And if he could say, this guy, he's getting killed, we need either to help him or get somebody else in here because it's not working. Like that type of command, calling people out, making sure that they're accountable, and not just to be a tyrant back there, a jerk, but to do it in a way that benefits the offense as a whole. I feel like Zach Wilson's aware of that and that he will do that. That's the hope. We don't know what we have in him on that level, but one thing I can say is the team does seem to love him. And I mean the players, I'm not even talking about the coaches and everybody. The players seem to love this guy. And when you look at guys like Braxton Berrios, who came back, they let him hit free agency. He came back. Was the first thing he said, dude, I'm with, it's Zach. That's my guy right there.
Yep.
I think that stuff has weight. And my true feeling is that he is going to take a step up in that department of being an actual general in the huddle, as opposed to just some wide-eyed kid, freaking out that Greg Van Roten can't protect him or whoever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that he's done a lot of really good things this offseason. He had brought the team out to Idaho. He's been traveling all across the country, hanging out with teammates. But I think also last year, towards the end of the season, he earned a lot of respect from his teammates because he got the shit beat out of him. He got hurt. He should have been benched because he was playing so poorly. He had to face the adversity of everybody playing better than him. Mike White, Josh Johnson, Joe Flacco. Everybody was better than him. He faced all that. The media scrutiny, the fan scrutiny, everything was going against him. And he pieced himself together, dusted himself up, and said, you know what? He rallied, and he came back. And I think that said a lot. Then he got against the Buccaneers game. That said a lot because he was missing what the left tackle was out. His receivers were out. It was all shit was breaking loose, and he stayed in there, and he fought his ass off. And I think that it's one thing to be named the captain. It's the other thing to be earned, earn the reputation like you are our leader. And I think he started to earn that. I think he's earning it this offseason. Now training camp's the next step. Like now it's like, you want to see that progression. And I think the offense as a whole is exciting. The only question I think that you have right now is the offensive line. And it's not because of the players. It's because will they be available? And right now, as of today, which is early, it's July 21st, Fant and Becton on a PUP. To me, I'm not worried about it. I'm more worried about it if it's this time next week when everybody reports and the practices start and they're still not practicing. Then it's like, what are we doing? Because you want to get these guys. You don't have a lot of padded practices, man. You know this. You don't have a lot. You have a couple of joint practices. I don't want to have these excuses where it's like you go into week one and these guys have only practiced together a few days, or they're not used to each other because you have Vera Tucker on the right now. You don't know who the left tackle is going to be. Like, get this all ironed out because if they're all healthy, whatever, like I think Beck's going to be on the right side, my personal opinion. But however you do it, this line could be physical as hell, establish the running game, and make this offense just fly. But that's the if. Are they going to be healthy, and are they going to stay together and get together during training camp?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't, like whenever we do stuff like this, Tyson, I always try. Now, I don't always get to the solution, but I try to ask myself, all right, what's the benefit of this? Why are they making this move? What does it mean? Because we can all get into our, like, look, if I'm a Becton supporter and you're a Becton detractor, we immediately blah, 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 and we start spewing our stuff and we argue and everything else. But like, what I really try to do is go, okay, well, what does this mean? You know, all right, Carl Lawson, George Fant, Mekhi Becton, and there's a couple other guys. They're starting on the physically unable to perform list. Why? What does this mean? Does this mean anything? Does it mean, like, are they, like, they could be aware of the optics, right? They could be like, well, do we have to do this because it's going to be a media shitstorm? They just said we don't care about the media shit. We don't care, right? We just don't care. Now, what I read something a little while ago, like maybe half hour ago, and they said that this was the plan. They were planning when these guys all came back. They were all injured last year. When they all came back, their plan was to start them and make sure that they pass physicals, whatever. And maybe that's all it is. Maybe in a week when they start practicing, that doesn't mean anything. So I'm definitely not willing to jump off a cliff. My Twitter DMs are already there. You know,
my phone right now is going off. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
You know what I mean? Because, like, technically speaking, I'm a Mekhi. Like, you know, everybody's so black and white these days, right?
Yeah.
So I'm technically a Mekhi Becton supporter, and the truth is, I am. I like to give my players, especially young guys, 3 years, sometimes 4. That's just me. You know, just who I am. So, but because of that, I'm an apologist and all this kind of stuff. So, and that's fine. But so my Twitter DMs and all that, it's full. I haven't looked at it. It's like I already see it. But like you said, there are so many questions. Like, so the offensive line, the personnel that we've added these last 2-3 years is light years from the attention that we've given to the offensive line in the 5 to even 8 years previously. I mean, Mike McCagnon drafted 2 offensive linemen in 5 years or 3, something. It's ridiculous, right? Yeah. So the fact that we have 2 first-round picks on the offensive line, we have some a couple high-priced free agents when you look at McGovern and now Laken Tomlinson. George Fant, not a high-priced free agent, but a free agent.
He could be soon, though.
That's a good point. He could be any minute. But like you said, there's a lot of questions. Like, and you're saying your feeling is that Mekhi Becton will be on the right side. Now you're not alone. Obviously, I'm sure you've had numerous conversations. I actually have a game. I do this Versus app thing, and I have a game out there. You can bet on that. You can say, you know, whatever. But like, so that's kind of one of the biggest questions is who's going to play left tackle. Now, I'm not so convinced that Mekhi Becton is going to be relegated to the right side. I'm also not so convinced that the Jets are worried about Mekhi Becton. And this is not just me. It's because I look at what we're seeing, right? Like, so most of the beat had us thinking we were going to draft Icky with pick number 4, right? It's definitely Icky. It's Icky or it's this, or Evan Neal we heard for a while. Then we heard Trevor Penning with the second pick or in the second round. They were definitely getting a tackle. We didn't get a tackle. Now, we waited till the 4th round. We got Max Mitchell. So technically we did grab one. But Max Mitchell is a pipeline tackle if I've ever seen one. I really like Max Mitchell. I want you to know that. He was one of the guys I liked as a mid to late round pick for us. But he's definitely not ready to start. If he ends up having to start, it could ruin him. All right. Like, that's how I feel. He needs a strength program, like some of that stuff. So we didn't bring in a free agent tackle. We didn't use our first 3 rounds on a tackle. So where's all the concern coming from? They know that Mekhi Becton has been training. All right. You see pictures. One picture says he's fat. One picture I look fat next to him. You know what I mean? Like, so it's varying. His trainers keep saying, and Duke Manyweather, who's fantastic, by the way. He's a good follow too on Instagram. Lots of good training shit. I really enjoy that guy. But you know, he seems to think, dude, there's no issue with Mekhi Becton. And the Jets did nothing that would insinuate that they have a concern. Now, we could see Riley Reif's he was brought in a little bit. We could see when cuts start happening. There's all kinds of stuff that still can happen. But the concern isn't there. Now, if the concern isn't there, that leads me to think, just me, it leads me to think that they're good with Mekhi Becton as their left tackle. If all things are 100%, if you're looking at George Fant at 100% health, 100% ability versus Mekhi Becton 100% health, 100% ability, my feeling is Mekhi Becton is far and away the better player. That's my feeling. And I like George Fant. But Mekhi Becton on the left, George Fant on the right. That keeps AVT and George Fant together. They played the entire season together next to each other last year. You got a new guy. Why shake it up and all that? Now, I'm not convinced of that, but that's my feelings. But that all said, I get where people are coming from with the Mekhi Becton concern, but the truth is, man, is we're being force-fed this stuff, Tyson.
Yeah.
We're being told to be afraid. Be afraid. He's fat. Be afraid.
Well, no, I'm not. See, like, I'm not even afraid. I just go by, I think the Jets did a really poor job of communication throughout this entire process. Even starting
With the
last
injury.
year with injury for the first half, 6 to 8 weeks, this and that. He'll come back this season. He'll come back this season. And it was like they played this game of just not telling us. And then the more it dragged out, it's kind of like, all right, we're going to start blaming the player for this because we don't know. And then you assume, and then you have all these guys that are making up stories that either believe or don't believe, whatever else. But it's like, okay, he gets hurt week 1. You have all of last year. Then you have the entire offseason. And it's like, all right, I understand, like, you have the OTAs are voluntary. He doesn't go to that. But then it's like he goes to mandatory minicamp, still can't practice there. And you're like, man, I'm like, this is for a 6 to 8 week injury. This is a long fucking injury right now. Like, and then it's like, and the whole thing is because you always had that backstory that he had the weight issues. Now, I'll say I'm a Mekhi Becton supporter. I wanted to come back and dominate. I've been saying the entire time, I thought he was going to come back with a chip on his shoulder and just start whooping people's asses and just be like, you know what? It's me against the world. I'm going to embrace it. But it's like, you just want to see it. Like, you just want to see him come out and just start throwing people around on weight and practicing week 1. Now, he still has till next week to figure that out. Like, we still have another, 7 to 8 days before they even start practicing. So he hasn't missed anything yet. So to overreact today is crazy. Now, the interesting point you made is that you think he's going to play left tackle. The one thing, some of the things he said was just like they felt like George Fant kind of earned it based on the way he bailed them out last year because he played at a pretty high level. So that's kind of because then it's like, and this is kind of why I think that his contract's not done yet, because are you paying him as a left tackle or right tackle? That price range is a lot friggin' different, dude.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Well, but listen, Salah's statements they were very non-committal. They just said he earned the right to be considered in the, for the position. He earned the right to compete for the job. Now, let me ask you this. If you're trying to figure out a way to motivate a potentially overeating, potentially overweight Mekhi Becton, wouldn't you want him to be in fear that he's going to lose his job rather than, no, the job's his? Wouldn't you think that's the better way to go?
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I want competition everywhere. I say nothing's assumed on this team. Everybody's got to earn their spot.
And even though, like, look, you said you're a Mekhi Becton supporter. I'm a Mekhi Becton supporter too. Not an apologist, but I am a supporter, and I'm rooting for him too. And I want nothing more than for our offensive line to already be here and fucking be great and everything else. But like, if you have competition, and let's say the first 2 weeks of the camp, they're legitimately competing, that gives you the opportunity to actually light a fire under both guys' asses. Fans playing for a contract. Becton's playing for his position, the ego, everything else, his career, really. So I think that's really, I have to say, that's a masterstroke by Saleh, or it could be. It could be. Let's send him off into the offseason thinking that his position isn't locked up. I don't want him to be comfortable. I don't want him to think, fuck, I'm a left tackle, man. I got 3 years left of my contract. I'm good. What do I care? You don't want that sort of thing. Now, getting to your other point with the way that the Jets mismanaged the injury, I completely agree. But let me ask you something. Wouldn't it be possible, and doesn't it almost seem likely to consider, and we never talk about this, that last year we have a rookie head coach, rookie organization, right? Joe Douglas is in his second year, but he's a rookie, everything. But the medical staff, the doctors, Dr. DeWeese and his whole staff, it's their first game as a staff. Isn't it likely that they could have botched, not even what the injury is, but how to handle it, how to communicate it? Like, we forget that. Like, we have a bunch of noobs running around. These guys have never been in NFL staff before. The medical staff. We have a new dietitian, new nutritionist, new rehab, new trainer, and it's like, and they said 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it was, and it wasn't. And then they go, oh, maybe 12 weeks, maybe week 16, maybe, you know what I mean? Because they're like learning on the job. Now, I could be wrong. I could be. They could be like, no, it was a 6 to 8 week injury and the guy's fat. Okay, that's his problem.
That's where all the speculation comes from, because like you don't we're so into it. We analyze every statement. We try to analyze everything. We're like, and the other thing is we have PTSD from all the bullshit the team's done to us in the past. So it's like you have, and which is unfair to Joe Douglas. I'll admit that. Like sometimes we're so used to the Jets being incompetent and doing really stupid things. When the Jets do something now, we're not really sure. We kind of err on the side of, same old dumb Jets doing something ridiculous. But I think one thing Joe Douglas has proven over the last 2 years is that he is competent. He knows what he's doing. He finally has a blueprint and a vision that you can believe in. Like you see it, like build through the draft, how he gets it, the type of players he wants, the culture guys and everything else. So it's like, to me, the whole offensive line thing, I'll let it play out for another 2 weeks. I have no problem overreacting. The one thing I would like to see, to be completely transparent with you, is I'd like a backup tackle. I'd like to sign a Riley Reef. I'd like to sign somebody else because, like you said, Max Mitchell's a project. He's not ready to play. The other guys on the roster, we've seen them play. We know what they are. I like to have that. If I have to have a high-paid insurance policy on the roster, sign me up for it, dude, because I don't want – like it's money well spent.
Look at what happened last year. It was right around – now I forget when it was, but it was like deep into the offseason that we stumbled upon Morgan Moses. Yep. We gave him $3.5 million, and thank Virginia we did because, dude, we would have had Chuma Edoga all year on the right side. Now, look – as a backup and everything, I'm not the biggest Chuma Edoga hater. I'm not. And I like to see guys given time to develop, Connor McDermott. But like you said, we are hoping neither one of these guys have to start for us. One game, come in for the second half, okay. You know what I mean? And then the next guy's back. But wouldn't it make it so much more comfortable just to have a Riley Reef in here? Yep. Or if somebody else gets cut, like just somebody with some legitimate NFL starting experience, kind of like what we did with Nate Herbig from the Eagles. Yes. I mean, what a slam dunk grab that guy was. And like, you know, bouncing Greg Van Roten, like, look, we already drafted AVT last year. We signed Laken Tomlinson, but Greg Van Roten was still here. We grabbed Nate Herbig and it's like, boop. Goodbye. Yep. Why? Because we don't need him. Nate, dude, that's an upgrade with a younger guy. Now, are you hoping Nate Herbig doesn't have to start? Of course you are. Yep. Of course we are. But in the event he does, we know he can. And that to have that at the tackle position right now, at least while we're, you know, look, like you said, we're damaged, man. And for good damn reason, we're damaged. Yeah. And just to calm it down a little bit, I agree. I think it would be fantastic to have just a competent tackle brought in, swing, left, right, whatever you want to do, but getting another tackle in here would be smart, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then going to training camp, the two other positions I'm curious to get your takes on in terms of like depth and trying to add some pieces. The first one is a linebacker position. I think everybody pretty much loves CJ Mosley. To me, Quincy Williams he's decent, but I don't know what he is yet. I'm hoping like a year in Salah's all-season program and his defense, he's learning it. He has a lot of speed. He's got a lot of playmaking ability. But there's some times where he's running around, you're like, where are you going, dude? Like, that's just not like – so it's like, to me, the first one would be linebacker. I know that's why the Quan Alexander rumors are out there, and he's smart to sit around and wait for the right price. But would you consider, like, to me, it's like tackle, linebacker, safety. Those are the three areas. If I'm going to tinker a little bit, I would try to add some pieces.
Yeah, well, I know. All right, Quincy, he's going 200 miles an hour just in the wrong direction. That's just what he's going. He's ready to kill somebody. Now, look, he clearly showed that he's got lots of playmaking abilities. Really, I mean, he's thunderous with his, the way he hits and everything. And clearly the Jets like him. But I got to tell you, the number one disappointment for me at the end of the draft is that we didn't bring one in. And we had the opportunity, even though I loved the Breece Hall pick, truly loved it. Yep. I thought Nakobe Dean was probably a little bit more prudent. I loved the Rucker, but there was a few more linebackers that I really liked. I'm like, holy shit, they're still there. I was disappointed that we didn't bring in one linebacker via the draft because I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, where you were going with Quincy Williams is kind of how I look at him. We don't know what he is, and totally. We grabbed him off the scrap heap. And we threw him right in, and he just played. And he played great one week, and he played shitty the next week. Maybe he needs time in the system as well. Maybe a good, year in our program is going to benefit him. The Jets seem to think so. But me, I feel like Quincy Williams is more than likely a very good backup. Like, that's what I think. But it also shows me, Tyson, that maybe the Jets, this 4-2-5, maybe big nickel defense that they want to run, a lot more DBs and on the field at one time. Like, look, we brought in DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. We already had Bryce Hall and Brandon Echols and Michael Carter. All these guys that are, look, we have a nice deep rotation at quarterback. Maybe that's because they plan on having them on the field more. And the linebackers, aren't going to be focused on. And that freaks me out a little bit. That's fine, but it freaks me out because one of the issues we're hearing is like, we kind of don't know how we're going to stop the run. Pass rush, we're lots of focus finally on pass rush. Yay, it's great. I'm happy. But you don't want to have teams that just hand the ball off and they're getting 8 to 12 yards a clip on you. So I think Jordan Whitehead was brought in for that. Maybe they really feel like Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley with Jordan Whitehead are going to be able to fill in, our hair on fire, as Ulbrich says, defensive line. They're going to go up there and create pressure. And then when the guy pops through, Jordan Whitehead or CJ Mosley are there to knock his head off. I hope so. But I'm with you. That's one of my biggest questions was linebacker. Now, am I unhappy that we brought Breece Hall on? Absolutely not. I loved it. I love the balls. I love the gumption. I love the resolve. I love it. I really do. Getting the top back in the class. But linebacker, that's how I feel. It's just like, man, I wish we would have got a linebacker. No,
that's the one area where it's just like, it makes you uncomfortable. Like, you're one CJ Mosley injury away from being deep shit, like deep, like deep. And I'm not discounting, like, I know people are high on Sherwood and Nazrul. Yeah. They're young, they're inexperienced, and they're coming off injuries. That's just what it is. Like, that's not who I want replacing CJ Mosley. We saw it. I mean, that's a huge void. Like, have that, veteran proven guy behind him. So you look at, talking about the rookie class a little bit, which is, I love all the playmaking ability, all the explosive. Do you think any of these guys, I'll say this, I think they're all in a pretty good spot where they're not going to be relied on to be superstars year one. Do you think there's any pressure on one more than the other ones to produce big, like, not say big, but like above average numbers in the rookie year?
Yeah. And look, and I'm going to be honest, right? Like, I heard you guys had the conversation. I just listened to your other show, which was great, by the way, everybody. You got to listen. But I happen to agree with Ian on this one. He said Sauce Gardner, and I feel like that there's already a lot of super high expectations on Sauce Gardner. Yes, there is. Never having given up a touchdown in college, right? Yep. Nose for the ball. And the Jets had a deficiency in that, the inability to find their way to getting the balls in their hands on defense, right? Yep. Supposedly Sauce Gardner has a knack for that and everything. So Jets fans are already assuming this guy's shut down. This guy's locked down.
Revis
What's going to happen? Tyson, what do you think happens? And I'm going to be sitting right next to you, right? So week one.
I can't wait for
that. We're hanging out in the hangar, and Sauce Gardner gets burned for 2 touchdowns in his first rookie debut. What do you think the backlash? It's going to be severe, man, because expectations are through the roof. Now, is the kid talented enough to absorb all that and do it? Is the coach that's responsible for the defensive backs arguably the best coach we have in Tony Oden? Yes. So it's all there, but I think that Sauce Gardner probably has the most pressure on him. And my hope is that he doesn't take 2 years to get it, because Jets fans don't want to wait.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. We see that. We did we do all these dumb polls and shit like that. And it's like we're all excited and we all want great things. But to me, it's like Garrett Wilson's not going to get 1,000 yards receiving. Jermaine Johnson's not getting 12 sacks. And Sauce Gardner's not going to the Pro Bowl year one. That's just the way it is, because there's going to be a learning curve and there's going to be platoons. There's going to be all these different things. Now, Sauce Gardner has the swag. He has the talent. He's got the smile. He has the personality. He has all these great things. But he, too, is also going to face a lot of adversity as well, too. And to me, it's like, if he has a good season, I'm happy with it. Like, I'm not expecting Revis this year. Like, I'm trying to keep it real, where it's just like, it's going to be excited, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Like, just kind of keep it, But, I just think he's definitely the one of all these guys that probably has the most pressure on him. I think there's no doubt about it, man.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like, look, Garrett Wilson, he's more than likely not going to get 1,000 yards. I mean, hopefully he doesn't, because we want to see Elijah Moore and the tight ends and Brees. But it's like, if he doesn't, there's not going to be as much backlash as if Sauce Gardner gives up 6 touchdowns and gets 1 pick or something like that. But look, Revis wasn't even Revis his rookie year. I mean, he did get 3 picks, I think it was. He was good, but he wasn't Revis.
Yeah.
So it takes a minute. And like you said, Sauce Gardner has everything you want. So that's and the coach that he has on our team is stellar. He's the best coach we have, in my opinion. So we have all the pieces, we have all the items for the recipe, right, to be made. Hopefully he can come out and just do it quick. I'd love to see him get a couple picks that week one. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, be awesome. Now, do you think going into training camp, do you think this is a make or break year for any players in this roster where it's like, listen, you've got to put up and do your thing, or you're probably not going to be here next year? Can you see that for any of these guys coming up?
Make or break. Oh yeah, I mean, I think guys like Mims, who I'm a Mims supporter too. I'm a big Mims guy. But I think if Denzel Mims has anything like what we saw last year, I mean, he's going to get 4 weeks. You know what I mean, to prove something.
Yeah, no,
so he'll be gone. He'll be gone quick. I also think, like, look, Becton, as much as like we're saying that we like him and everything, if he gets injured like week 2 and he's out or something, like, I think that they're going to start looking another direction. You know what I mean? Like, talent, it's not always the key. It's getting the best of abilities, availability, and that remains true now more than ever, especially with all these friggin' injuries. I remember watching players for the whole year. There was never injuries. If a guy got injured, it was freak. It was like, wow, the guy's out for the season. What's that? Now it seems like it happens more than not. But a guy like Becton, I think all the guys from the 2020 draft class, except maybe Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall looks like, even if he's not our starter, he looks like a guy you want on the team. Yeah. He has a role, but like LaMichael Pirine, Mims, Becton, Ashton Davis. What is Ashton Davis? Is he super athletic and talented? He got 2 picks. What is he? I don't even know what he is.
So what about a guy like, I'll give you 2 names to see if this is like a make or break year for him. First one is Corey Davis, because the Jets have an option for him and Carl Lawson next year. If they don't plan it this year, Joe Douglas has been very savvy with his contracts where he can get out after 2 years. Could this be like Corey Davis got to put up like some solid numbers this year? Or could he, is he under any pressure, do you think?
Well, you know what I think? Unless Corey Davis absolutely lights it up, he's gone next year anyway. That's just what I think.
Okay.
I think Corey Davis, and I'm not an anti-Corey Davis guy. I'm truly not. And I would love to see him have an impact. But last year, not only did he not have the impact that we wanted him to have, he had a lot of drops, and 2 of Zach Wilson's interceptions hit Corey Davis's hands first.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's that kind of stuff. Now, I think that unless Corey Davis has like a 90 catch season or something really good like that, I think when the guaranteed money's over, we're going to have already stocked the cupboards enough that we could just add another guy next year. But I don't know if I'd call it make or break, Tyson. I think Corey Davis is what Corey Davis is. And I just don't see him as the long-term answer for the Jets. And I could be wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong. But I wouldn't call it make or break. I think the expectations are definitely are there, though, because last year was disappointing.
What about a guy like Quinnen Williams, who is, depending on who you ask, a superstar or just a guy? That's kind of where it's Jet fans are like, you either like this guy is the one, on the verge of being the best player in football, or he is just a guy and he's a bust. Is this I think it's a monumental year for him in terms of his career as a Jet. But what do you think? Well,
it's a contract year too. Aren't they supposed to be motivated during contract years, right?
Yep.
So Quinnen Williams is fascinating to me because you know what? His numbers are nowhere near what we were supposed to get. They're just, let's just be real. He was supposed to be Aaron Donald. He's not, okay? Or at least maybe he ends up, it doesn't look like it, right? But he has been solid. And the interesting thing that I like about him the most is that he seems to have the knack to come up with his stats when you need him to come up with his stats. Yeah. 4th quarter, 4th down, 3rd down, and then 3. Like, that's when he tends to come up big, which I think has value in and of itself. Yeah. Like, you look at a guy like Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is somebody that I would classify as a stat padder. Yes, like, he just kind of gets a bunch of stats, but it's like they don't mean anything. When it's the end of the game, he's not like I can recall literally one big time play, and not to get into a Jamal Adams tirade, it's just for comparison's sake. Yep. I can recall one time that Jamal Adams, when the game was on the line, made the big play. I don't, but Quinnen Williams seems to do that more often than not. Now, does that supersede getting 10 sacks? Is that more important, less important than getting numbers? And if we're talking about this 30 plays a game crap that Ulbrich seems to think is the way, I don't know. I mean, what does it look like? But your initial question, is it make or break? I don't know if it's make or break, but I'll tell you what, for him getting that mega contract, absolutely, man. But there's going to be some wacky team out there that's willing to do it. Like there's always somebody willing to give too much money. And now, will it be us? If Quinnen comes out and gives us 47 tackles and 4.5 sacks, I don't think Joe Douglas is breaking the bank. I don't see it. He's the prudent man, and I don't think he should. That said, I'd love to see Quinnen here for the long haul. I would. I think he's a good football player. But let's say this last thing on Quinnen. Let's say he actually has a Jermaine Johnson who's effective. Let's say Carl Lawson is effective. JFM moving inside is effective. Let's say that this offensive line has more to compensate for than just Quinnen Williams, or account for really, than Quinnen Williams. Does this impact what he does? He's been waiting his whole career. I mean, he's never really played with anybody, really. And so does that have any impact? Now, does Aaron Donald need to play with anybody? No. You know what I mean? So, but maybe Quinnen Williams isn't Aaron Donald. But so there's a lot there, and you see all like I slip into madness when I think about these guys.
But that's to me he's the defensive side of Zach Wilson, where it's like the Jets surrounded Zach Wilson with all kinds of talent. Now he can make plays. To me, it's like they did the same thing with Quinnen Williams, because this is the first time in a decade the Jets have outside speed rushers, more than just one. They're gonna have like 4 or 5 of them. So now it's like you have the outside speed rushers, you have a secondary that can cover, and you have guys next to him too. So he should be able to flourish. Like if he can't flourish now, it's like the Jets say, listen, here's your best chance to make your mega payday. Take it or leave it. If you don't do it, we tried to help you, man. We literally tried to make you money, and you didn't do it. So I think I think he's in a good spot. I think he's going to do well. How well, I don't know, but it's, hopefully it's $20 million a year. Well, if he has that kind of year, dude, it's this, the sky's the limit. Now, the other thing is there's so much young, exciting talent on this team, man, which is the first time we could probably say this, and God knows how long.
Long time.
Can you see any candidates that are kind of like breakout players, where I think obviously the initial answer everybody says is Elijah Moore. That guy has the ability to take that next level. It could be this year. But are there any other young players that could come up and just smack us in the face and just become a breakout star, like a rising star this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, it looks a little bit different, but I'm telling you, the guy that I think is going to really show their worth more than anybody else is going to be Elijah Vera Tucker. I think this is the year. It bothers me that we're moving him till he has that little bit of an excuse kind of woven in, some confusion. But I think I loved AVT coming out. And I think that I liked him last year too. And he's very, very strong in the run game, which I think is good. But Zach needs him to step up in that regard. And I think AVT is primed to end up being like that Pro Bowl, potentially all pro guard that we've been looking for a long time. And I think like Elijah Moore is clearly, he's going to be the more easy to see, Michael Carter, Breece Hall, like those kinds of guys. I'm really excited about Breece Hall too, but AVT, I'm ready, man, for like our offensive line to be like our offensive lines of old. Like they're just a brick wall in front of our quarterback. Our quarterback has time to survey the field and make something happen. We already know that Zach Wilson can escape. We know that he can make something out of nothing. He's got the hot wheels. He's got the, kind of the ability to roll around and see things. But I want him to be able to sit there and carve defenses up. And AVT, if he can be Laken Tomlinson, like if Laken Tomlinson and AVT are rocks, dude, Zach Wilson's life is going to get so much easier. And I think this is the year for him. I really do, man.
So this question I've been dying to ask you. I've been thinking about this all day because you're a longtime fan like I am, and you've been through the Parcells days. You've been through the days where the Jets had some hard-nosed coaches and the physical practices. And that's the one thing I want to ask you about is the physicality of Robert Saleh's camp this year. Now, last year was a learning curve for everybody, man. Like you said, you talked about it perfectly. With everybody was new, everybody's finding their way, all this stuff. This year, year 2, I know the Jets have to worry about injuries because they had a zillion last year, but they also have to worry about all the slow starts they had. They have to worry about getting pushed around and not being as physical as other teams. Do you think Saleh changes his training camp style at all and maybe incorporates different things? Say, listen, you know what? We've got to wrap up the intensity because week 1, you got Baltimore. You have the AFC North, dude, that is notoriously very physical and smash mouth. Do you think he maybe changes things up and gets a little more physical in camp this year?
Well, you know what's interesting about that question is that he already changed his OTAs, right? So we saw that. And the thing is that he did it the opposite of what you're saying. He went less physical because, the injuries. And we got out of OTAs and minicamp with less injuries. So that's good. But I'm really curious to see, my answer is I hope so. right? Like that's my answer, but I don't even know if that's the right thing anymore, man. Like clearly the 2011 collective bargaining agreement changed everything.
Yes,
with no more two-a-days, no more hitting, and we've seen injuries skyrocket since. Now we talk to some of the old heads, and they think, of course, they needed to get their bodies used to this stuff. Some of the new guys say, that's wrong. It's not about that. It has nothing to do with the injuries or what have you. My whole thing is this, and I'm going to say this as cautiously as I can. I'm not convinced that Robert Saleh is a great head coach, Tyson. Like I'm not saying he's not. Okay. Right. I'm not saying he's not. He has many attributes that are innate that you cannot teach a man. Yep. And people respond to him. And these are things that you want your coach to be able to have, and you want him to possess these things. But I don't know if he has the answers when things kind of get sticky, and whether or not he's going to be able to change is going to be a real mile marker in which way we're going with this guy, because a lot of coaches, like a Todd Bowles, stuck in like the ego, like, nope, this is how I do it, but it's not working. It's how I do it. Yep. If you're stuck in that and you can't change, then you're doomed, right? Yep. If you can go through a year, go through 2 years and go, holy shit, man, I never even thought about it this way. I thought it was this. And you learn and you can make that switch, then the sky is the limit for him. Now, he already changed the OTAs, and that's a positive to me. Just the fact that he changed something. He said, I learned. I came here thinking X, and I realized it was Y, so I put it back to Y. That to me is monumental. It means the world. Now, will he be able to get guys, like when they're losing, to rally the troops? Remember how many times we saw him just kind of standing there, like he was happy when we're winning. He's all rah, 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 rah. Yep. But when it's the shit's hitting the fan, he's not talking to anybody. He's not grabbing somebody, saying, hey man, come on. And that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see less injuries. Tyson, if we can show up to week 1 with the team that Joe Douglas created, if we can actually just show up to week 1 with the team we have, then everything is different. We haven't done that in a decade. Actually shown up to week 1 with the team that we built. There's always some people missing. If we can do that, I think we have a good chance to see a completely different result.
Yeah, I'm curious, because right now it's like, if you say, who is the face of the franchise, or what is the identity of the franchise, we don't really know. Probably the face of the franchise right now is probably Coach Saleh. The identity of the franchise is we have no idea, because we don't know what our defense is. We have a glimmer of an idea of what our offense is, but the only thing I know is, and this is just because now it's like, I'm tired of losing, dude. Like, I'm tired of fucking losing. I'm tired.
What are we doing here?
Like, I'm tired of excuses. So it's like, I'm trying to think in my head, everybody says this schedule is so tough. You know what? If you play smart, tough, physical football, you can compete with anybody week in and week out. So my question to Saleh is, going into training camp, is how are you going to prepare this team to get us to that level where it's like, you know what? If it's going to be a smash mouth, ground and pound game, will your defense man up and go toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose, and be willing to be that physical with the other team? Like, that's the kind of shit I want. Because, like, I want to be that team, because you have to be. If you want to compete with the Bills, you want to compete with the Ravens, the Browns, whatever. Like, dude, you know what they're bringing to the table. We don't know as of today what we're bringing to the table. No. And to me, that's determined in training camp. Like, the one positive thing is that they brought in a shitload of leadership here. You bring in your Jordan Whitehead, your Lake and Tomlinsons, your Zumas. I mean, they have that winning mindset. They know what it takes to win, and that's going to translate in the locker room. But to me, this is where Saleh comes in, though, dude. And you made a really good point. And, like, to me, last year was a wash. We accepted losing. We knew we were going to suck, and we sucked. Perfect. We gave him a pass for a lot of things we didn't like. I mean, I didn't. I was going off the rails sometimes, but, like, because you see things that concern you. But he did, as the season go on, his personality started to come out. He started to hold guys accountable. Game management, time management improved a little bit, thankfully.
Yeah, right. It did.
But this year, it's like, okay, man, you now have a team that is got a lot more talent than you had last year, and this team has more expectations than last year. So he's got to manage that, dude, because we're not going to tolerate giving up 200 yards rushing. We're not going to tolerate a press conference when you say, you know what, you just give 180 yards rushing. What happened? Well, it's not the scheme, but it's not the players either. Well, if it's not the scheme and it's not the players, then is it where is it? Is it the field?
Right.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, right. Who is it?
I'm curious to see how this training camp is handled, dude, because he's got to set the tone early on. Because if you remember, dude, look how many games last year we started out flat as fuck on both sides of the ball. The defense the opening drive, they get points, and our opening drive, 3 and out. There you are. And it's like that starts now. You guys start changing that stuff now.
Agreed. Like, dude, that's such a great point, man. It's like we can't when the team comes out flat. That is an indictment on the preparedness, and that goes up top. That's not the players, man. Like, Robert Saleh says, "Hey, they get to play a child's game for a king's ransom. I shouldn't need to motivate them." Yep. Yeah, it's great, but guess what? You do.
Yep.
Nonetheless.
Yep.
Nonetheless, these guys need to believe. They need to feel motivated. Now, is it right? I don't know. Maybe it's not the way it should be, but it is. Like, you're the head coach. There has to be some semblance of kind of getting them ready. We got to come out like our balls are on fire. Yeah. And that's the way to do it. Now, there were games that we did, and we looked really good, but they were few and far between. Most games, we looked like the game was over in the first quarter. Yeah. Game was over. Boring. And look, and I don't know if I think you might, like, we live stream for Jet Nation every game. Yep. And live streams, dude, they feel like they're 9 hours long. I'm like, it's only the third quarter.
It's just awful,
I'm talking about French fries, McDonald's versus Burger King French fries in the third, because the game's terrible. Yep. And it's like, we cannot do that, man. No, like the last year opening day, and that was where first I got to meet you in prime time. Last year, and we went in there. Dude, we went in. It was so much energy. It was like we were riding the high. All we wanted was to compete. That game was over. I sat next to Matt O'Leary. I said to him, "You know what game this is, right?" He goes, "Oh yeah." Like, we knew. Two drives in, we already know this is going to be a 4 interception game. We already know. We've seen it. We've lived it and breathed it. That shit has to stop. I mean, Tyson, what are we even doing here? Can we win some damn football games? That's all we're doing. It's all we want.
Yep.
Just want to win. Or even if we're going to lose, can we not look completely inept? Can we please? So I think and that is, look, I'm not even, like, Barrios came out today or yesterday and he said playoffs or not making the playoffs would be a failed season or something like that.
Right.
I don't even have that expectation. Would I like it? Of course. I'd love it. I'd ride that wave with everybody. Right? I'm with you. But I'm looking for 7-8 wins this year. I want marked, significant, measurable improvement. That's all I want to believe, that going into 2023, when we add our next pieces, that we are on our way. Now that's all I want. I want to see, like, the team that we're putting together actually has the ability to grow together and play competent football games. I don't think that's asking too much. I don't.
No, I mean, that's I'm in the same boat you are. It's like, like going to training camp, my expectation is the Jets have a lot more talent. It's about molding it. It's about establishing the coach. It's like at the end of this year, you want to feel like, you know what? We kind of know what the coach is. We kind of know what the quarterback is, and we kind of know this team is on the verge of making a legitimate run into the playoffs. Like, this is literally year 3 rebuild. This is where you're at. We know all these things. The last thing I want is the end of the season be like, you know what? I'm not really sure what we have here at leadership. I'm not really sure what this quarterback is. And here we go again with all the questions. And, like, to me, it starts now. Like, you got this training camp is going to be fascinating. Preseason is going to be fascinating. Obviously, you want to hope that, no injuries, get everybody healthy, get everybody on the same page. I like the fact they're having joint practices. I think they're phenomenal because it's another level of competition, which is great. But, it's funny because our expectations aren't even a winning season, dude. That's how, like think about this, though. Like, I was talking to a guy today in the gym. He's like, "Oh man, you're Jets." I'm like, "Yeah, man, 7 wins." He's like, 7 wins? That's all you want? I'm like, bro, we've sucked for years.
Yeah.
I'm like, 7 wins to us is the highlight. I mean, we're freaking excited about that. And that just shows you, like, how much that's not even a successful season, but we're even giving Saul and these guys that kind of wiggle room.
We are.
So it's
You're
like,
right.
But that's to go 7-10 is not asking a lot.
It's not asking a lot, man. And it's funny, like, I said that it's so funny that you bring up the guy at the gym, because I said something similar to my brother-in-law recently. He's a Giants fan. So thankfully he's at least in the doldrums with us recently.
Right.
But throughout the history, like, he's, I said, look, all I want is, like, he said to me, what would be a failed season for you? I said, anything under 7 wins. He goes, 7, huh? That's it? I'm like, that's all I want. That's it. Because I'd like to lose like 3-4 games, like because the team doesn't know how to close it out. Like it's a competitive game. We lose by a score with 2 minutes left. They're too young and inexperienced, but you can see it. Like that's what I want. I want to see it. Now look, if we come out and go 10-7, I'm psyched. Yeah, 11-6. Yeah, I'm down with it. But realistically, we haven't seen actual growth. Even the last time that we went 7-9, which was the Gase baloney at the end of the year, the 6-2 bullshit, that whole thing, look, there was fans here and there that really believed that the 6-2 thing was real and we were going to build on it. But most of us knew what that was. I hoped. I was like, okay, great. Like, I've hoped. But realistically, it was like, that didn't even feel like a build. It just felt like we got lucky. At the end of the year, we played Mason Rudolph, you know what I mean? And the Steelers and the third string quarterback over here. And so we want to start, but like actually looking like we got this GM. He tore down this franchise to the studs, man. It was torn down, which we needed to do. Nobody's done it since Parcells. So we tear it down. We get rid of guys that people thought were going to be here for a long time, just like Parcells did. Neil O'Donnell, Adrian Morrell, get out. I don't want any of you. Get the hell out of here. And so Joe Douglas did the same thing. He traded away, got great capital, great trade management, and he built a team systematically, didn't feel the pressure that, a lot of Jets fans could put on it. And here we are. We want to believe that this last couple of years of tearing it down, trading the guys away and utilizing the capital means something. If it can mean something and we're heading in another direction than where we've been, that's enough. That's enough. We're considered intense, and we are, but the truth is we're not even asking for anything.
No, and it's like competitive games in December, win some division games, like beat the Dolphins, beat the Patriots. Like we're not asking a lot, dude. I think it's all realistic. And I think the really cool thing is, I think we talk to a lot of fans all the time. Like probably 90% of the fan base feels the same way. Be competitive week in and week out, competitive football late in the season, win 7-8 games, 6, whatever, 7, probably 7-8. We're happy. And then next year we're talking 10-11 wins. But like we're all on the same page. And it's cool because there's legitimate excitement, but we're all being practical about it. Like we understand. Like there shouldn't be no 51-10 blowouts and all this other nonsense we saw last year. Like right. Like, and it's just, and it's cool. Like I'm excited about it. Like this is probably the first training camp I'm legitimately excited about in a long time, dude. Just to see like where this team is. They say the right things, but now it's about, listen, all gas, no break is an awesome phrase, but now you got to show it to us. Like you got to give it on the field now. You know
what does it mean? Right. I saw lots of breaks last year. It seemed like we were always on the breaks. But like, dude, you're so right, man. I mean, it's like, it's time to just win a few football games, create our identity. I mean, look, the worst thing in the world would be to have a top 5 pick next year, wondering if the Jets are going to draft a quarterback. Like,
I can't take it.
I can't.
I just can't do it.
Do that, Tyson.
Creep, I'll tell you right now, if we're having draft conversations in late October, I'm gonna be a raging animal. I can't take any more of this.
and rightfully so, man. Like that's it. We all just turn. That's it. It's now a Bash the Jets show. You know what I mean?
More of that. So first of all, we're supposed to do like a half hour. We did almost an hour. So I gotta thank you for that, because I could talk to you. I think we could talk for like a decade. I think, but everybody already knows who you are. But if they don't know who you are, what the fuck are they doing? Because they should. How do they find you, man?
Well, you can go on YouTube, GreenBean Jets fan on YouTube, Twitter, not Facebook so much, but Instagram. I'm coming back next week. I'm not sure when this will air, but Monday the 25th, my first podcast in almost a month will be out. And I got some big announcements coming up this weekend. It'll be fun, but yeah, man. So GreenBean
big announcements. Give us a tease. Nothing. What kind of big announcements?
I can't do it till tomorrow. I'll tell you. Hey, how about this? I'll tell you when we shut it down. But I gotta do it the right way. It's all prepared. So it's gonna be a blast, man. It's gonna be fun.
And then for those going to the home opener, you're gonna be there.
I'll be with you in Sack Exchange and the Jet Lounge. With Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 and O'Leary and Buffalo Jet. And there's so many, Jeremy from Chaos. I mean, there's so many of us going. We're going to be tailgating with, I think it's with Gotham City, and which great guys, Claudio and all those guys. So
you charge for autographs, man, or is everything free? How does it work with you?
Come on, I pay you to take my autograph. It's going to be a good time, man. We're going to be psyched. We're going to bring everything that we can to that damn Ravens game. The Jets just got to come out and play football. That's it.
Yes, sir. Well, GreenBean, thank you very much once again. If you're not following, please do, but I'm sure everybody is at this point. And dude, we'll have to do this before the season starts, man, like a little quick season preview or something.
Absolutely, man. I'm always psyched to have the time with you, Tyson. Thank you.
Great. Have a great night, man. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. That's it. Oh, show on.